Hello boys and girls, welcome to my channel. I'm the Upskid Angel PD, and for today what I do have in here, it is finally a new benchmark. It is called Fade to Silence. It is developed by the Blackwood. It is completely normal that you don't know Blackwood. Blackwood are the developers of Gianna Sisters and not Stormtroopers but Rogue Troopers. These are mostly just 2D side-scroller games, so it's probably fine that you don't know them exactly. So this game, it is using Unreal Engine 4, just like pretty much almost all indie games. But before I start talking about the game, let's start with the settings that I'm going to play it. So I'm running the game with 1080p BorderOS, which in this case it is called Windows Full Screen. I do recommend you to use full screen. And let's start with some details. VM distance I have set to median. Don't use near. Everything pops up in front of you in near, which is very bad, so use at least median. For the anti-aliasing, it's a matter of a choice. If you choose lowest or low, you will stuck with no anti-aliasing or FXAA. Median or high uses TAA, which not every person likes. I reduced post-processing to low. I didn't notice too much of a difference. Texture quality and shadow quality I have set to median, and special effects quality, this is where I had a little bit of issues to downgrade, because with the median settings you actually have some nice volumetric lighting and some nice free space reflections on the ice, and when you reduce to low, volumetric lighting gets worse quality, which for me it is entirely fine. But the fact that I lost screen space reflections on the ice, for me it was a big deal. Might not be for you, but for me, it's a little bit. So for the clothing, I'm just using only on player. You can disable entirely, and I'm using eye-key quality to on. Eye-key quality stands for inverse kinematics, so it helps the character to feel the animation system to be more realistic, tied to the scenario. For example, on the case of these stairs, or if your character is climbing a mountain, for example, you will notice that the character behaves realistically, just like it is climbing a mountain. It is struggling to go ahead. So let's take a look on the requirements. This game asks for asks for an FX 8320. Well, and we just have in here a Phenom II X4, and asks for a 12 Gigabyte of RAM. This is completely bullshit, and asks for an AMD Radeon R9 270. And these are the results with my Phenom 2 and 8 gigs of RAM and my HD 7850, which with the lowest settings, which looks bad, I have an average of 59 frames per second. The low settings, which looks much better, have an average of 47 with a 1% low of 33, low median average of 35 with a 1% low of 30, and median and high you can clearly notice that it starts to drop from 30 frames per second a lot. So I don't really recommend you to go entirely to median settings unless you have a very high clocked HD 7850, or if you overclock your R7 265 or your R7 370, you probably can go, for example, with median or high, because there isn't too much of a difference in performance between median and high, and actually both of them looks pretty much the same. Low settings, there are some big cuts that you start to notice, but still the game looks really good with the low settings. But the lowest, it is really kind of a compatible mode, because it looks, starts to look really bad. Still, might not be that bad if you have a laptop or anything. It's passable. There is shadows and illumination system, so it's not, for example, Shadow of Tomb Raider, when you drop the shadows it looks completely bland. It's not the case, but you lose a lot of weather effects and stuff, which makes the game to look a little bit strange. So I wouldn't be aiming to 60 frames per second in this game, because the downgrade it is big and the game gets very unstable. Because for all intentions and purposes, the game asks for an FX 8320, and yet our Phenom II X4 can run the game, but 60 frames per second stable, well, not really. Not to mention that this game have a lot of issues with frame times. Sometimes the game stutters a lot. Even with the textures on low, it doesn't really It isn't really that stable, to be honest. But I can put my blames really on the CPU, because for the RAM, if you have 8 gigs of RAM, you will be more than okay. So the only thing I can say, it's entirely bullshit, those stories or those requirements about the 12 gigs, as well as the CPU requirements, and as well as the graphic card requirements. Everything, it is entirely bullshit on those requirements. That's the thing that you should know about it. So now let's talk a little bit about the game. What the hell is Fade to Silence? Fade to Silence, it is a game which, despite you are looking at this, you're probably going to say, okay, it's another Souls game. It is another ripoff from Dark Souls. No, this game is a survival game. It's just these parts at the beginning which have a lot of combat for you to know how, to combat. It's kind of a small tutorial, but all intentions and all the things about this game, it is about survival. And the scenario will be this endless snow, and your objective is to protect your daughter, revamp these villages. Yes, you can construct, hire workers. You are going to encounter people in this post-apocalyptic world that will currently help you, and you need to choose that help. You need to choose what characters are really good for you to help you out. This is also a cooperative game, so I believe you can bring your friends to help you out with the game. But essentially, this is not a multiplayer game. This is a single player with a story, which I'm not really sure if it has an end or not. This is something that I don't really know, but I believe this game has a story with an end. So it's a game with a start and end, but it happens to be a survival. Alright? So as for the performance that you are going to see on MS Afterburner, expect the worst, since I'm recording with AMD Radeon Relive, and this game, it is very easy to get stutters. In this video it really got really bad with the stutters and with the bad frame rate, so without recording I didn't really got any frame below 30s, but it might happen in other areas in the game. But back to the game again, you can even travel throughout the game with wolves pulling your vehicle, let's call it this way. I'm missing the words in English. So it's kind of a very interesting survival game. So if you are into survival games, you can actually run this game, and it seems at least rather interesting. And the combat system, it is kind of Souls-like, which is actually really good. And the graphics, they are really good. It's just inconsistencies that these guys have. So what about Steam users have to say about this game? Steam users are not really satisfied with the game. They have mixed feelings, but I'm not really sure if they are talking about the fact about the early access times of the game, because this game was on early access, or if it is related to the final product, because the final product was released just 30 April, so it wasn't long ago. So I'm not really sure what the hell these reviews are about, if they are about the early access or not, because most of the users are really satisfied with the game, aside from two issues. The first one, it's some people think that the combat, it is clumsy. I disagree. Well, could it be more, it could be better. I just finished up Dark Souls 2 recently, and yes, it is much more clumsy, but still it is rather acceptable. And the second thing they complain, which I think it is really bad, it's the fact that most of the people complains about this game crashes a lot. So I've played more than 1 hour in this game, and I haven't seen any crash. Alright, I noticed some bugs just with the scenario, but that was small things. But apart from that, I think everything was pretty much straightforward, and it was working well. So for now, I have nothing to complain, but to be honest, I barely touched in the game. So how much costs this game? This game costs 40 bucks on Steam. I don't think it is really expensive, but I also believe that it could be cheaper. But anyway, if you can get it with a better price, you can buy through Kinguin by the time of this video for around 26, 25, something between the 25 to 30. So it's a discount of $10 to $15. I think it's actually considerable, But if you can buy through Steam or any official retail store like Greenman Gaming, Humble Bundle, any other shop out there that are certified, it could be good news. If not, if you are interested in using Kinguin and enjoy a lower price, just go to the description of the video. I have a link there. It's an affiliate link, which means that if you buy through Kinguin, I will receive part of the money that you did pays to help out the channel and get other games to benchmark. Alright, so guys, that's all. Hope you keep enjoying the rest of the video, and I do hope to see you soon. Goodbye.
The National Guard has now expanded.
Wait here. A thick, white blanket coming to cover you. No blindness if you stay out much longer. And round. Just keep walking in circles. The end. No, never. Don't despair. You'll have another chance. And another. Impossible to shoulder. The boulder you're pushing to complete this impossible task will roll down and crush you.